Okay, so once regularly, once with a melody and a little bit of grammar. והיה עקב תשמעון את המשפטים האלה ושמרתם ועשיתם אותם. ושמר אדוני אלוהיך לך את הברית ואת החסד אשר נשבע לאבותיך. והיה עקב תשמעון את המשפטים האלה ושמרתם ועשיתם אותם ושמע אדוני אלוהיך לך את הברית ואת החסד אשר נשבע לאבותיך. So we have many things we can talk about here. Let's start with something basic. Ushmartem veshamar. You can see that both these verbs have the same root, shin, mem, and resh. That has to do with guarding, keeping, watching over. That's very common. And note the reciprocity or the tit for tat or the reward that fits the deed. You keep the commandments, God will keep the covenant. Okay, that's shin, mem, resh, both of these. Now, we have interesting things other than that to talk about. I want to focus on one thing. Here, tishme'un. Oh, interestingly, we have a nun added at the end. Usually, the yiktol form has the prefix, the root, and sometimes the suffix. In this case, the prefix tav with the suffix u, when we have the root, in this case, shin, mem, and ayin, in the middle is the second person masculine plural. Here we have the nun at the end that is added. This is what's known as nun paragogicum. Nun paragogicum is literally a nun that is added. Okay? Now, why is it added? So, probably, historically speaking, it is added to mark the distinction between the indicative form and the volitive form. Okay? That's originally probably what it did. How do we know that? Because we rarely find this in cases where we have the volitive form. Okay, I know I might be speaking about the head above your heads, some of your heads, and I apologize, but this is in short way how we know this is historically what it did. It appears in about 5% of the possible cases. It usually comes in about 70% of the cases in with disjunctive ta'amim, okay, but not at the end of a verse or at the end of or with the etnach, which divides the verse into two, but usually less dominant disjunctive ta'amim. There are countless, or at least 8 different explanations to what it does in biblical Hebrew. In a synchronic, why does it appear here and not there? Okay, besides the historical explanation, which is no longer in effect in the synchronic examination of the text. For the synchronic approach to the nun paragogicum, as I said, there are 8 different explanations. None of them is fully convincing. So just, you should know that it doesn't really change the meaning if we see the nun at the end of these second person masculine plural or second person feminine singular or third person masculine plural. So it appears, in about 5% of the cases, or if you just look at the first sample period prose, maybe 10% of the cases, but it's not very prevalent. So that's it for the weekly portion of Eikev.